Being very entitled and controlling, narcissists have no difficulty stepping all over your personal boundaries. So that's why I put together an extensive video class called This Is Me. It has 25 videos, written documents, guided questions. I'm going to teach you how to have healthy boundaries. There's a link below, and I hope you'll find it to be quite therapeutic. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a relationship where you think to yourself, this person that I thought that I knew and that I thought was a really pleasant and charming kind of an individual has turned out to be somebody that I find to be repulsive. They're disgusting to me. Has that ever happened to you? Probably that's one of the most common themes that I pick up on when I'm in the counseling office with other individuals, at least when I was in my practice before I retired, was that very kind of thinking. Narcissists are so skilled at trying to portray themselves, at least in the initial offerings, as being somebody who's pretty irresistible. I'm going to be one of the nicest people you ever met, only to have over time for you to realize, oh, that's not the case at all, and it can be incredibly disillusioning for you. Now, the possibilities are endless. It may be in a dating situation or even a marriage situation where when you get to that point of breakup, it is really super ugly. That person who started out as being really pleasant and friendly turns out to be your worst nightmare. Or it could be certainly post-divorce. That person can come off in a real awful kind of way where they actually try to teach other individuals to hate you like they're now hating you. It could be that you have a job situation where it started out to be the dream situation only to turn out to be a nightmare. Same thing with social life, or I've even had people that have had long-term friendships that have fallen apart because one person wound up getting caught up in ideologies and belief systems and lifestyle patterns that just worked out to be completely untenable. I mean, the possibilities are such because narcissists live behind the veneer of the false self, the possibilities are endless. These individuals learned a long time ago to hide the real self. And so when you get to know them, then that real self, it may take time to show up, but it eventually does show up. And then when you start seeing it, then that's when the wheels are going to come off, and that's when they're going to come after you. Now, I want you to just think of some of the ways that narcissists can initially try to show themselves to be pleasant. For example, they can give positive public impressions and make other individuals think, well, what a nice person. And you're certainly lucky to be attached to someone like that. And you think, wow, this is really nice. I like being involved with an engaging kind of person like this. Or these people can be seemingly interested in knowing all there is to know about you. And once again, that can feel flattering as you think, wow, finally someone's interested in me. I really like that. Or they can give you compliments or gifts or praise or say nice things about you to other individuals. And again, that can feel good. They can be masters sometimes even of idealization. And by that I mean they may say things like, I don't know if I've ever known anybody as smart as you or as witty as you or as engaging or as pretty or handsome or whatever. And they can just heap it on and think, wow, this person really has me up on a pedestal. I kind of like that. Or it could be that they'll use what appears to be empathy. Later on, you find out it's dark empathy, where they seem to be truly tuned into your hurts and needs. Later on, you find out that they use it against you. They can sometimes exude confidence, like, hey, you and me, we're going to go someplace good, and good things are going to happen. And they can seem knowledgeable and competent in all sorts of different ways. But over time, those things, the shine on those kinds of ingredients begin to wear off, and that friendliness begins to be shown as part of just a simple front, where these individuals actually are much more shallow than they wanted you to know, or that competence and confidence doesn't include conflict management skills at all. They don't know how to do that, and they begin to reveal that. Or that empathy is just a little more than data gathering. They're trying to figure out how to collect bullets against you so that eventually they can shoot them back at you. Or that interest that they seem to have in you. Well, ultimately, it's an interest, okay, but it's only an interest in what are you going to do for me, and so it has hooks on the back end of it, or that acceptance that you thought that you were receiving has a whole lot of conditions to it, and you begin realizing it can be yanked in with the slightest of mistakes that I might make, or just differences, and that calmness that they seem to show. Well, it's little more than a well-honed skill that they develop as a part of their cover for their fears and their insecurities. They can give the appearance of it, but they just can't sustain it. Over time, when you're engaging with that strongly narcissistic person, it can get ugly. And it can get really ugly to the point to where you think, I'm so sorry I even met this person. I'm embarrassed to say that I was connected with this person. That individual is disgusting. Get them away from me. Yeah, once you begin to see the veneer and you see what's behind the veneer, what you're going to find is the narcissist picks up on that, obviously, and they're going to start going into high control mode over you. And instead of that friendly and engaging things, they're going to put a lot of requirements onto you. They're going to put a lot of suggestions into in your mind, and they're going to give you plenty of criticism. You are the problem. You are the one who's causing things to feel a whole lot less wonderful than it used to be. And as a result, what they'll do is when they see that you see their flaws, guess whose fault it is? They'll start blaming you. Well, if I made a mistake, it's because you weren't upholding your end of the relationship. Or if things aren't as wonderful as they might have said, they once seemed to be, then it's because you proved to be phony, and they'll project into you all of the things that they don't want you to see within themselves. As time goes on, they'll also show themselves to be incredibly thin-skinned. You would like to sit down, as you do when relationships begin maturing, and say, hey, look, we're learning more and more about each other. Let's figure out how we can pick up on some of the things that haven't worked really well and make adjustments. And instead of them saying, yeah, it's a good idea, they become extremely defensive. They'll throw up their shield. They'll start justifying and rationalizing why they're the way they are. They project their problems into you. That's their defensiveness. They do all of the blame shifting, etc. And then eventually, once you begin letting them know, I'm on to you and I'm seeing things that you didn't want me to see in the original stages, then here comes the anger. And the anger can become very unruly, and it can become harsh and fierce. I mean, to the point where you begin feeling there's a hatred there toward you, and you're wondering, where in the world did this come from? Early on, they might have shown you some annoyance, or it may have been that they've expressed some anger toward other individuals, but now that it's turned on you, it can be very, very disillusioning. And then over time, you begin realizing, I'm dealing with somebody who has an underdeveloped conscience. This is a person who doesn't really have a strong sense of right versus wrong. In their mind, if there's something wrong, it's because you did it. If there's something right, it's because I did it. That's how they think. But they don't really think things through on a very deep kind of level whatsoever. In fact, if they begin feeling like they've been exposed, they've got one primary strategy that they utilize, and that is try to figure out how to have dominance, which is what they'll do toward you. And then in the end, they're the victim. You have made their life miserable, and there's no willingness whatsoever for them to say, maybe I contributed to that. And by the way, once the cat is out of the bag, so to speak, you're not going to be able to go back and recover what was originally there, that pleasantry, because you see what you originally experienced wasn't real in the first place. And it's impossible to maintain and sustain a relationship based on non-reality, which is why inevitably it falls apart. Now, keep in mind that these are individuals who have assumed within themselves, they won't say it out loud, they won't admit it, but they've assumed, you know what, honesty doesn't work for me, which is why there's constantly that posturing. And if I can't be accepted the way I am, then I'll figure out what I have to do to be accepted, and then I'll just do that, which of course means that it's nothing but smoke and mirrors that they project. But then in the meantime, they've also concluded, and whatever highs and lows, humanity that you bring to the equation, I'm really not interested in all of that. If they could be honest with themselves, of course they won't be, but if they could be honest, what they would say is, I really don't know how to handle complexity. The only thing I can do is make things go my way. When things go my way, I'm a pretty nice person. Of course, anybody can do that. Or they won't admit, the only way that I can manage relationships is to keep it as shallow and superficial as possible. And of course, that's not going to be sustainable. And then if they could admit it, which they won't, what they would say is, actually, the anger that you eventually will see from me, I've been carrying that anger for a long time on the inside. I'm just going to unload it on you. They will not admit that to save their lives. Instead, what they'd rather do is shift the blame and say, if there's a problem, if you think that I'm disgusting, it's only because you're a disgusting person. They're going to put it all onto you. And that charming, irresistible, friendly, engaging, available individual that you thought you knew, poof, they go away. So it's going to be so important for you when you are at that place where you realize, okay, it disintegrated, it fell apart. They want you to think that you're the cause for it all. Keep in mind, it's all part of the inevitability when a person says, I'm going to build my life upon false pretenses. I mean, when you think about it, it's like, that doesn't work. It simply isn't going to go anywhere good. And so know what you're dealing with, and know that despite some of the inclination they're going to have to make you have to be the bad guy, so to speak, the more you see what's behind the veneer, then the more you can move forward with a sense of objectivity that says, sorry that I got pulled into a relationship that turned out to be something very different than what I originally thought. Now I'm onto it, I can see it, and I can move forward now towards my place of stability that they're not going to be able to join me in. Now, I hope that videos such as this can give you some good things to think about. If you've not already hit that subscribe button, I would encourage you to do so. We're going to keep more videos coming towards you, and I hope there's a cumulative effect as you continue to watch. There are times, of course, when you have a need to seek therapy. How many times have you thought, I'd like to talk about this with someone, I'd want to unpack it, but I don't know who? Well, you know that I've been sponsored by the people at BetterHelp.com for a long time, and if you have that need to put it out there on the table with someone who can help you figure it out and sift out what's going on, please go through the link that's below. They're there, they're available, it's online, it's accessible, they'll get back with you very quickly. And so as the need is there, get the help that you would richly need and could make good use of. That's why they're there. Also, I put together courses, and they're meant to be, they're online classes. They're meant to be very challenging and walk you through in a very extensive way through some of the things you might be dealing with. Each course has at least 25 videos with written documentation per videos and guided questions. We have Ready, Set, Connect, Free to Be, This Is Me. Each one of them has their own distinctions. We have more that are on the way. In addition, I have my webinars. And those are 90-minute presentations that have already been made, and they're still available on our website, along with access to many articles on the website, my podcast, and plenty of other resources that would be there, my books, etc. Okay, just know that part of the defining feature of many narcissists is they try to be very charming up front, but that charm is a little more than a veneer, like that underdeveloped conscience that I mentioned. Once you're onto it, I'm hoping you can see it for what it is. And like I say, get your objectivity and know who you are, because they're going to try to throw you off in terms of what you think you know. Know who you are. Learn to trust in yourself. Stay committed to dignity, respect, and civility. And I'm hoping that in the end, it's going to allow you to be that person of peace. They won't be able to join you in that, but I'm truly hoping you can remain as a person of peace.